Sia Yamajo Mama Kwaba Eba Power 97.9 Kasa Fidia Swan Crying Abrese Street Ena Yebutuo. And Sabadwo Yayansa Aka Ene Any Adi Sumu Se Non Sia Kasiebo Ye Power Kasiebo. Na radio no any TV stations no Edoso Papa and award-winning newscaster ene matrasia mene miniaba ya shasia ya babe testem amagana for enya bi etie na voter power 94.1 eho global fm eho sharp 106.9 takrade insroma 92.1 krankwanta buam fm eho jasekan jinyame 107.7 eho sampa nanarum 92.5 for afugoso western radio 100.3 welembele KFM Kaza Ngrigi FM Boli. Vinci Radio ni TV odunkwano fin. High Radio enso ewo betem when pensampa win FM ewo pusiga. Yabawram eko amanonia. RadioSMOnline.com ekutem apo 68 of Virginia. Dice Radio Italy Adafopa Radio Paris. G Live Radio ewo UK ena OPD Radio ewo UK. Omina ekutem ena yede nonsia Kasiebo ye power Kasiebo ede emamu TV XYZ e obatampa obia ehwebi oso ensaba ede bayi de di makoten bini
yabakwa mrahye bedwafie na yakwa akwahwe se anamontuo bayi anomutu se mpanyimfo a eda nyinam kanea no na afede se ho ahwe yisi jedwumaku no so bekọ na omakwakyerɛkyerɛ nsem ewo domso ho nsem no ede ama ganafo
DVD machines a yeto aba ye de yensa eguso metro verify ansa na obeto ato no yesi abeto komisa de nson ayira wose anya no kra na laptop enum na obi abefa
saso ana Dr. Mahmoud Baumia adia to just enei efedi GR adwumakuo no omo tata nkrofo nwumakuo Ghana enya asemkuma
atiatira adwumakuo miensa ewo Ghana ha wamate atua so omo nkyira de biem
saso ana mrahye bedwafo so akirem se mpanyimfo so ahwe na common fans come nsa kanene no se enya dia omonsa eka sadia esefata
momo agent ye wa Ghana ha ekire se ye san ade 11 bi ade ato agent tip no so ya ye tax o mu 11 aban na ntwamu a won beti atua
saso ana adehia ewo achem akokọ so ade atodwa esrese omunso munye bia eye anything mpontudwuma omosra ban so ombo omo ewo sa kwanya no eso
abrantia ye friend na na kwame bedi akọ dodo no friend cheda wode atodwa se so nyankopon ye na doma Ghana foto abama no a wo betwe epo ade abetu kuma asema akonum safo nkabomkuo ye ewo Ghana ha esrese wo mo esre Ghana fo nyina se wo mo member cheda asema okaye no Ghana fo mfanche no na watwitwa bi
saso ana aye former president ade atodwa na o kire se nyinam kane adwumakuo no ahwe na nkane ho nsensam no omomfa ntutu ye amboa Ghana na ye ndwuma enkoso
ensam no doso yabobo na so no so kama ene yade sum se no siabre Kasiebo aboafo ya wasoma yade bani
yadi nasibama aye amuzu herbal clinic okan bi sanso na let's talk educational consult eskitemu de dending efe medimosis clinic so akan bi akasie no yade ebrem solak natural aye clinic so akan bi sanso na class house electronics ekutemu de dending na fe aye power specialist herbal hospital so ekutemu akasie no yade ebrem na fe kwayanim so a se aye little George so ekutemu de dending se hono okwandu pa benya biato sanso ana Ruta natural product ekitiem de denden ana fe S natural mineral water so aka bisaso ana 3P garlic mixture me pa chop ebinum na fe ka 360 toothpaste so ebuachi dom ana fe Spanish ginkgo capsules papa modern so benya bi na watimi anon na siesie na nipadua no atimi akonanim
Loud Silence TV kutakasiebo no mu ana enwumre yiwunya bi ehwe midin ade okumangra di wanf oheneba boama benye mene
akuya kurantema
ensam no kiremu ana yade to aso de amamu na asade tie ni ana ede enra empo ana asemi eba betodwa na ni nyina no efa Dr. Kasiebo ato forcing ana wode to dwa ewo mrase badwafie ya asama wakan ye ene say afidie no aye koto aba wode wonsa entian ade begu so na afidie no apeke was wo kuman grade 1 for register ni din ewom verify ansa na wakọ bi akọ hese aba no betumi atobi ama na eyi a na eno ana opani kwantefo ade ba betu dwa sen efidie no emu maako enson ayira ewo abato komisa atran kese na sansam na esi ye no ehwehwe aso eno nti abato komisa womre meya no de ya ama emu enson ayira asami waka ye pe ena Dr. Bosman Asare adimrika ababonte dia babetu dwa sen afidie bia nyina ye DVD machine bia anyina ye nemom ade a ayira omohwehwe omuhu ayom laptops na omde connect ma DVD machines no enu na ebu maako enum obi asesa omuhu ni pa wafa eti se laptop de a enu kra nemom DVD machine de bi anyina ye Bosman Asare akasa yenti no.
What is alleged to have been stolen, the commission is hearing that we are at risk ahead of the 2024 general elections. The commission wishes to use this opportunity to assure you, the media and all Ghanaians, that we are not at risk and that we are fully ready for the 2020. They are just laptops as they are manufactured to be. They do not contain any information of any voter, neither do they contain any critical information. So we want everyone to know that we are fully ready for the elections ahead. So there is no risk as far as the Electoral Commission is concerned.
Bosman Asare said they are just laptops. Na akwe wayariana. Yeah, was say just laptops, no. And what you know, sign etwas to be say. A man for us said that egu omanima say BVD machines, any BVRs, and Ira, back when Nukrabia enim, Bibiasa and Rai.
Again, we are also picking information that some people are confusing the BVDs and the BVRs. I want to tell you, the media and the general public, that the BVDs are used for verification during elections. They are used for verification during elections, the BVDs. The BVRs are used for registration. The BVR, they come in the form of, in a box. We call them the BVR kits. In that box, you are going to have a laptop. You are going to have a scanner. You are going to have a camera. And you are going to have a printer and other devices which constitute the kit. So each of the individual equipment that make up the kit, on their own, they do not have any bearing on our activities. Neither do they have any bearing on our registration exercise. It's only when we put them together. And when even we put them together, we must activate them and connect them to our system before they can be used for the registration purposes. And when it comes to the BVD, we only use them when you are going to vote. And we want to establish that you are the one you claim to be. So if even a BVD is missing or a BVR is missing, they have no impact on our elections. Because on their own, unless they are activated and connected to our system, on their own, they cannot do anything. And if perchance someone even steals a BVR or a BVD and takes it somewhere, you can still not register with it. You can still not be able to register applicants.
Ghana for monitor we so a doctor, your friend Dr. Bosman Asare. On yaten en kanunti nchechiremu no eno diama mo no meni bibia ka biem.
Ya nkwa anima na ya ntoa ensam no eso. Okay.
A civil society organization Care Ghana and as a care for free and fair elections. Ya yata from Care Ghana ede atudwa. Say afidie no a ene nchechiremu no a Dr. Bosman Asare wade abano omo de omo ti ase enye yie womo atese ba biara saa opani ekofa nchetiremu no bia no womo ehia de adi kan wose na nsa 2021 Auditor General Report eba abonten no etre say abato komisa kakraka na si wo no womo eni wonuoma no a wo no kra no woni ma no woni data bia etre say ebia ye wo BVR 20 ye BVD 20 ye wo laptops 10 yo we say wamuni data bia ya ewo ho etre wamu movable and immovable asset no womunni any report concerning senuoma no eti so obi be fa bi kura no a enya de ombetumi ehunu enti omo de ombesre say ni manim ya no auditor general ene abato commissioner be kabom no ma take stock am ye hu omo seta omo liabilities ewom ene enuoma omo sade be ya wo kira bi no obi ntumi mfa so kwa enkonkodan ya tenchena yenkone ye ne David Kumi enkonko twenkomo emfamfa de ekoso no me dia be ma me mo akwaba
me jozo menya
na bokode
na me adomode enkwa chen me bi de semosmo he
twedi amponyame adaro maboko pa BVD machines ayira na monso mo de foforo e de aba bebom se auditor general report ya eba ye ne kire se isi any records bia e woni asset any liabilities a wo mo kire mo sen
that's very 2021 auditor general's report no yan saka bia ye kan mo ni hu se Electoral Commission is the record for the assets, both movable and unmovable, including elections, equipment, area elections. No. Now, because every time, secretary, my Electoral Commission, the open the elections, demand a dose of power. Now, the time there elections, not a better new equipment there. Not to say, who may say a bit beside, I didn't think I say anything because equipment, and yes, by 4 years, none in our say. Secondly, no, that equipment, no, anything far. Because, say, to new equipment last 4 years. Now, yes, some so new equipment. In the next 4 years, I'll go to about there. Then they call to question. Recently, and a minority said the two, and the Electoral Commission have confirmed say a DVR now I ran a DVD. Now, a bit surprised because only DVR and none I did register voters. Machine is a computer, almost make sure call. Now for your board data, and just your child picture on any friend BVR no. BVD machines and get why and get now you do say so now you verified no. And no na feel there not 7 naira. Then now open munankasa naira. And into no yes not say a short letter a comma auditor general. Me your petition say yes na. It is very, very important. Say immediately, other conducted forensic, if anything, audit into Electoral Commission on assets, both movable and unmovable. Any event equipment are the two aba. No, it is very, very important. In a day, I hear the war. If you are why a fire. Why the Susu is so offset and why the crack key to the events, the warehouse and the shop and Diana you keep it and money now. Why now the yes you shouldn't. It's a question of bear or Electoral Commission why the best place say yes and including the Mensa, any bossman aside related any the Director for Electoral Services and say you should
appear
or no yes because the machines no could fit the paponi for
yeah
and now political party members being that meaning ombudsman secret registration
sure
ombudsman secret registration because that equipment no the purpose and they say they register for bio data. Send there, you never compile voters registration register no. And in the fast, I did 7 and you 1 and you 2 7 echo could feel inside there. Not just a new next year. I think cool.
Asemia, Bosman Asari Canoa. Was say empo se BVR no echo coca will be in Sampa. Na Nipano and connected to the data of Isia. And yet you bet me a register will be a bus system no so.
Yeah, 2020 elections no. And some elections no. New voters registration exercise. Am I compiling new voters register? I'm part of okay. Hello. Yo. Electoral Commission after registration exercise, Electoral Commission by catch and say, or deleted 30,000 names from the register. And my young care Ghana for the local court because me actual letter man say, on publishing in the names 30,000 names no. Or say register outside the stipulated period. Any the register and you the Electoral Commission actually register for. The show letter my Electoral Commission when see any Electoral Commission call court compel Electoral Commission to publish the name because me I can say me am no ka say niya the me was that list nima I will never know until say my question me kwa for vote na aka say me say you me dey thing and no dey me to me want say any how be brain niya the Electoral Commission at 2020 I can say and say it belongs to me register outside the stipulated period of the registration exercise. Then about Manatari, I catch you and then. You catch you and the end because and now, almost about the catcher and say, it belongs to me as a successful in registering outside the Electoral Commission system now, or there are two honor.
Sure.
And outside the stipulated period, which means there will be an inside cancer equipment, will be a bit more registered for 30,000 register 2020. How many people who say a bit more registered and then?
And today, we share from this angle say. Mo de krata akwa auditor general ana fena mo de beko.
Yeah, the krata akwa auditor general and then.
Okay. Yo. Ya beda ase. Monya okay, and na mo de akwa de se mo nya response di ye beba bia no ye no beba be di nkomo ne ye bisa de ese akire.
That's the be me.
Yo. Adofo pani amote se ye ne no edi nkomo yi David Kumi, executive director Edma Ghana. And yattening can.
Yet one some so na yakoyang anima na ye bo awura aya imrashebe fie na imrashebe fie na ne awo sense aya panyin kwankyerefo a ohwe anyinam kane adwumako so mekire ECG ana fe opanyimpo no so oda ojanhoden sam ano man Ghana mu no ekopie kwakyerɛkyerɛ nsem esane se ne no ohwe se dia kane a wonsam akɔ man Ghana mu a enya de se eso ani kura o je so wa wum na se kane ne adum no na no ana Ghana fo se de kwa de yadum so eni ntianka mmɔden aso me timetable we hu se anna anaso ɔkyena mmiaye we na kane ano so mbedundum no na atimi aboa na so nyina no enya de ho sam no akwakosi eni ntina ho benya se mpanyimfo mienu no bekɔ mrahye badwafie na so makoyi nsem bia no eni ntiankɔ ama no so na yene anamusini eye odefo kwasi bechi enwetwe nkomo ne ambisa se ne no mpanyimfo mienu atimi ba mrahye badwafie ho na so mbetimi akyerɛkyerɛ nsem ana yenkɔ ama no so na yene no nkasa odefo so otimi nka memo adwo amu akɔ aba eba TVSYZ so
that's
na mabisa se na mpanyimfo mienu no mtimi ba mrahye badwafie ho ana
hello bato
mi busa se ena ukọ mrahye badwafie no panyin kwankyerefo da ye ECG adwumako na no ena fe osofo hwe ojanhoden nsam so etimi ba efie obeyi nsam ano sadia PURC ehye no ana
timi ama so sa na dwumadi a mrahye badwafo na dia nkasa ye National Health Insurance formula and share de eboama se health insurance but dey scanning di ko bia na o se bi kono enu dwumadi na omudi ye na numu na koba se blind omu a we yabo mu ye de Ghana ba mu contract ya omu de abefo elnam abefo enfidie so di emlo koma apomdin atwe no ho ayasabia hodo mu da nu asem ne koba se ka na omu so ombede omu de Ghana ba no ehye omu no mukwa na be pie mu se ahye enye sa na se nu na ma health committee for no che mu se e wo se omu ba no be cheche omu nsem ni because e koba ne se omu ye dwuma no omu andi dwuma no o se che mu kan ade e be ha agin kaka ntini we na ma ko hu nsem koba e owura kwabra me nta kan do ne owura na na ayi wa free any majority leader majority chief owura not on premier do manu mutum bia omu eka mo asem ntini se mre pemu no ombeto nsa fe to say you make zip line for na no man no mo kwankom be fa so a dan hihye no e be kan say awia bebu ma Ghana so anya on fa say ya obi ntimi mfa kwati kwan bi ema yesika nkonkodi obi hono na ade ba kwa yin ehwe ni mo say nura kata bi free o man panya so ye ba bi pm na se be jomu sa na express onana asanti be di atua oye ochocho fo panyima o man panyi o chire mu se na o de kata ba se ta be man na oba ne oba na ehun sem no obi di sa na kokoto nti ma se be jakra mo no mu so mu de kata no amra ne be ba o man panya se on pan san sha se on so se course no bi di masimo wie na no na homa anu bia bo se magu aso se e bia ne sika eni hodum but yanya ne tie so aba bi na family parliament e wa ho tie ma o mu twen se o mbeye o mu ma di chato no bia sorry a few weeks no o fa e kan no asete mbae no nti anya anu ma bia bo se magu aso se e speaker e be trasia ansem no kata no be so ya onu so wa nu yi bia obi eno andi na wa kan mu aye se no speaker ba be kan na do be so be kan pata se mi obeka ya na mo yeso ama ye tifo ni ahefo nso akide
yo other phone ye better was say what in some side film rachi bedwafie e de abre da so papa say what in semi so e de abre ye to so e da so e wo nsemu from say eye oja hoden nsem hom na kaiman panyi John Dramani Mahama e de atudwa na osra Nedco ene adwumakuo nkai aka so modern hwe na say oja hoden nsem anei ankoye na Ghana fu dodo na enya kania mfanya adwuma no omonhwe na so omontututu ne maye na mbo a se bene so ja hoden nsem no ebetimi agyan nan so Ghana man panyi dada de sansem atudwa na osrem se weni se de ne maka kono se bia Ghana fa na nyina ana sa oja hoden nsem enkoye nti omonhwe na omonye bribi emfanfan nsema man panyi dada de tudwa no ebi enie
low current eye ade a enye mohanko a efri ha ko ketekrache ho nyina enura na me o ketekrache sanso enetie wo ho wo so kane anajo a wo ho na prep na ko na atiko ewumo a na abakakra na atiko na abakakra na atiko enti mijina mo enemu mo kania no efri tamale ena eba a jumedi ehwe so enye ECG enu ye Netco enti omo na ehwe so enti me gina mo anemu awie minim se omo panyi ni bi hwe ka che omo se ye hia se ye de substation ebeba ketekrache ne kwasa ne damanko ha se na be ya ebepeja kanea no ahoden na me drone kran a me ankasa mefa telephone na ma frɛ omo panyi no na ma ka che na ade a me behu wo ha na masre no se omo mbehwe na omo nyama mo entemntemi ara na se meka na ntiase anye adwuma ene se nyame ya madom na 7 January me be fro Ghana konwa no so a eno de me mpacho me ma order se omo mbeye na enti we a me economic pacho if you say me ni hu to me and so after 7 January eno de to me no ekura me no mema directive say yembesi substation na mo yuram kandia no power no engineer emamo
na wei aya nsama JDM ade tudwa efa nkane ahun nsama nyina ye ewo ayekpasa ne ntem ho
atachira fon kabom komiensa ena wo maka mo ho abom se ade kire na fron mo enya de ya wo mo ebe kire biem na atachira fon kabom komiensa Ghana National Association of Teachers NAT and a National Association of Graduate Teachers NAGRAT and a Coalition of Concerned Teachers CCT wamo etre se aban no Kasiebo ni papa na ekwan a aban we di wo mafa so no so mo ka se wo mbe koso atra de aka se wo makatua wo heaven na da chom koduru a wo makwa akwade a aban begene de wo efom ha ama mo de wo mabre kwa nti obi abegene de ewo ha ya na de tie nyina no se wo mo se omo wo ha ana no wo nkonko ha obi asesa timetable ya tetrefo ede trade no o masesa no ede foforo de aba we anu afre hello timetable foforo na aba no wate wose an na wunim hu bi wose minim ho hwe minim ni pakura wode ebae wɔn ɛkyerɛ sɛ saa nkɔmɔ no a aban no ɛne wɔn adi no ankɔ yie nti wɔn ate ho atua deɛ ɛtɔ so mmienu wɔn distribution of laptops bi yɛ yɛka ho asɛm no ɛka wɔ sɛ aban no wɔde ba aban yɛ delay saa laptop baako adeɛ bɛte a wɔkyena ɛnɛ adeɛ te a tu saara ɛna akɔ so a nti ɛbrɛ bi aduru a wɔn ho sɛ wɔn ne aban no antena yie a wɔde wɔn sekan bedwa nanka wɔ abrabɔ nanka nso no wɔn ɛnwie nti tintontan efiri ɛnɛ da yi a ɛkɔ yi wɔn ate atua na wɔn wie na wɔn de kɔkɔbɔ ɛta atoɔ ɛde ma akyerɛkyerɛfoɔ dwɛɛ no sɛ wonim na akɔ classroom na akɔda bi ɛto boɔ bɔ wani a ɛyɛ waa na wɔpɛ akyerɛkyerɛfoɔ kɔ strike pɛ ɔbaa bi tena yɛba a yɛbɛbɔ mamaneɛ eti efiri na yi nkɔ baabi a yɛnkɔ ahoma so na yɛne coalition of concerned teachers wɔn mo communications director ni Adukoe Awule ɛntwe kɔmɔ mira madwo
yeja mechiamo tiefo nso nyina
atiefo nyina ɛgye wo so na wobi bebisa sɛ wei no ɛde na atre gama makɔ saa putupurum strike yi
yo me da sɛ ne the kind cry conditions of service I expect August 2023 into January na share and I day for ye day share to why ye negotiate for na da ye share ye chat to cry and okay ye share wuku for idria na 20th of January na 20th of January nechi no yentumi share biom 22nd of February na Fair Wages and Salaries Commission chokra trabe yen say omo be pesta ye be share 27th of February 26 ye gada ye ho e kwa share no be letter foforo ba ye say nhyiemu na mba so e be sin ne yen share nti ye nim ne nti ase ye negotiating for new conditions of service. Now from 20th of January, you into me share biom and kind one same biom no. And on a yo how it became neto sumienu academic calendar, ya kotanasi yenigan education service. Ayen share double track or more money double to more street. Ya can in we mo be first years back na second year so called or mobile na we monso ye kan ni nyina na ya gye atum ansa na ye de ato abonten na teacher ni bia ehu bi afede wo bete na Ghana education service release this statement say first year so omonko eda we biom na emo no mo be kosa ada we ebi wo mo ayesi afede we mo enne na omoko na de ni nyina san ye basa ntu ye teacher ni a wunnim imre ya ye bebie kwan ne into just a negotiation na ye kono kwa ne to so biom ye laptop e kom fie mien sakra betwam e kom fie 9 ai teacher for ye tie sika ai kan say ye be ma e teacher ni bia laptop e bi mo enyo de na over 100,000 enyo over 120,000 ya tiskano Premium Sacratrum, a confian. Omon Sanka or more laptop. Yebisa and Yebisa 29th of February. And I draw crata at the Command Ghana Education Service, Ministry of Education, your copy Labor Commission. At the near maybe bossy in out for horse a year, 2 weeks. Omunye who be ankashi into 29th, 2 weeks, and 14th. Ebesin, Obianka. That's a new thing. Who said, Philo Mufi and some of fire say, and you be a name or your quackoteno. Ye teacher for your contract for Lana, the and Sanka, your laptop now. So I buy so comma SHS phone and uncle learning a tablet to say laptop. Now so ye teacher for ye dear na what is cano. I know the moon to me, ain't ya my yen. Internal, I say, baby, yen snaster. Aban en yes and ya fire so sa and nonten and ya declare strike indefinite strike action.
Mr. Say condition of services no muhia na say na etie na nsachira be na muhia say ebam
what should that na wo na the bit to say allowance or modern continuous professional development allowance 2020 and I get 1,002 a whole year not just say every month we are 100 and no credit no be na we kwa year teacher line essential na ho keka ho into from 2020 no Senate na sa net into internet in fear me and send no be negotiation into negotiation is more allowances being so up it's so more or more rural areas you are negotiating for 20% of your basic pay what baby I was saying when electricity in war break send be encourage teachers no mark those rural areas we cry our condition of service ni mo by implement
wow
I didn't know more implement and then near me be a keka ho then why expire ye new negotiation and be ya yedenya foforo na no de ya hwe said e be ne wo mu ni nyina be yedwuma eno nso no mo twetwe omo na ase no
okay nti se no so mo frɛ mo na omo ka so okay mo me yemre se no man mu odin pa nti de mo kan nyina no laptops no yakra ebeba ena condition of services nso no ni nyina be kama timetable no so ye sorry say ya no sa mo fa nche next time ye mo mama ne ya wo be di atuma samba
yenjintum if sabai was sika when what me sika over 3 years 4 years o ma me laptops na so we nya sika wo de kwa akoma nkola na ye kwa akọchire wa de no nche no de ye nti ase
na che say laptop no say laptop no so munya mfa ma ya e de ababe cash na hand body na ground
no pepe if say ya chocolate 29 February chocolate akoma wo laptop ya if say yes so ya the teacher for ano minister call out say SHS obi a benya ne tablet benya laptop na teacher go no nya omo de omo so ati omo sika na yes we menti aban ya say into laptop ni do mo afa mba de a eno de kwakra and sana negotiation nso conditions of service na ke say ye wie no 29 February see a trip into omo hwe na ye wie
eti semuwia e was semuwia e yearly eti ano de ombetumi e de amamo at any time bia after some
omo ye implement it ye wie pe na ya ma implementation date na asha afie
okay
into no ye to me omo afre ye ochina omo pa ochina nya ye di ye krata ye de koma won mo nje ni nyina ntum na conditions of service ni wie na ochina
yo
na afi de laptop ne so aka no omo fa mbre ye omo de ba eno de no ano no ni aka no scheme of service any academic calendar no eno de say into me reverse you me to mo pa yen chewa ye beti
okay
scheme of service no so mo say ni ade ko ma won no so mo hwemu ewia mo fa beto so ya gia tum
okay
academic calendar no so ye pa mo che na mo laptop no o chena ye de ba conditions of service no so o chena ye wi eno ano no
yewra ye bedo ase wo chena mo committee ne ba anwumre say ya no ye be sa ba nche ne ye no wa bedi nkomode say ye
yo Mr. Damas
yo adofo pani amotese ye ne no edi nkomoi ni adukoi awule one ye communications director edema consent teachers association ena yatene nka sweet no na yebekọ na yakọ akwakodi enkomo ede afri ho wodefo kwasi be eche ewo mrase bedwafie ne yenya nte se speaker ebe kasa ede afa na santi bedi etuo lete tantantan no a wotro call parliament no yenya nte se speaker ebe be ya no na speaker nso no onimni pa wa wi ataso pa nti yenko ene ye no wodefo enko twenkomo yo yenko ye kwakọ he speaker ye krado
provisions of our constitution. In the said letter, the executive secretary indicated that the office of the president was aware of 2 pending applications for an order of interlocutory injunction seeking to restrain the clerk and from transmitting the bill to the president. It further indicated that the Honorable Attorney General had on 18th March 2024 informed the president that he had received the 2 applications and had advised the president not to take any step in relation to the bill until matters raised by the suit are determined by the Supreme Court. As a result, the President, via the Executive Secretary, conveyed to the clerk that it was unable to accept transmission of the bill. Honorable members, my attention has also been drawn to the 18th March 2024 letter from the Honorable Attorney General being referred to by the Executive Secretary to the President, Nana Asante Video 2 above. In the said letter, that is the letter from the Attorney General, I note that the Attorney General used the phrase, and I quote, "I will respectfully advise that a decision to assent to the bill be made after the determination of the application for interlocutory injunction," unquote, and not an advice to the President not to receive the bill from Parliament. It is therefore interesting that in view of this clear and unambiguous advice from the Attorney General, which I disagree with, to the President has rather chosen to accept the bill. In the face of these developments, it is important for us as a House to reflect upon the manner in which these events have unfolded. On the 28th of February 2024, this August House took a decisive step in passing the bill, a move that was a culmination of rigorous debate, thoughtful deliberations, and the collective will of the representatives of the people. Following this, the bill underwent the customary process of cross-checking, which is an important procedure designed to ensure that all amendments and changes proposed during the legislative process were accurately incorporated. After the successful processes were done with, the Clerk to Parliament, fulfilling his duties as the procedural intermediary between the legislative and executive branches, and dared to send the bill to the President in accordance with Section 5 of the Interpretation Act 2009, Act 792. This action, steeped in established parliamentary practice and procedure, signifies a final step in the legislative process, enabling the President to review and, if assent to the bill, thereby enacting it into law in accordance with Article 1067 of the Constitution. The refusal to accept the bill for transmission did not occur in isolation, but persisted across multiple attempts, with the third attempt to transmit the bill forming the basis of the letter I have previously alluded to. So 3 occasions to serve the bill. In fact, the Constitution used the word present the bill to the President. Failed. Notably, the President's refusal to accept the transmission of the bill has not been formally communicated to this House through the established channels of official correspondence from the President to this House. The absence of an official communication to the House regarding the President's refusal is troubling. Yet, it does not diminish the gravity of the situation, nor our responsibility to address it. No communication from the President to the House is through the Speaker. Nothing like that has been done. The contents of the letter, albeit not formally presented to us, have come to our attention, compelling us to confront the issues it raises. It is a matter of great concern that the executive branch has chosen to disregard the established constitutional structures that constructive dialogue and collaboration between the branches of government. In light of these circumstances, it is incumbent on this House to stand united in its response to this affront to the legislative authority vested in Parliament by the Constitution and the people we serve. We must articulate a collective voice that unequivocally condemns the disregard for our constitutional structures and reaffirms our commitment to uphold the rule of law. This situation calls for a principled stance, emphasizing the importance of adherence to the procedures and norms that govern our democratic institutions. Honorable members, I want to make some comments on the legal framework for action to be taken after a bill has been passed. This is important for the information of all, including the people we represent. Article 106 clause 7 of the Constitution provides, and I quote, "Where a bill passed by Parliament is presented to the President for assent, he shall signify within 7 days after the presentation to the Speaker that he assents to the bill or that he refuses to assent to the bill, unless the bill has been referred by the President to the Council of State under the of this Constitution." Section 5 of the Interpretation Act 2009, Act 792, provides 2. As soon as a bill is passed by Parliament, the text of the bill as passed shall be sent by the Clerk of Parliament to the government printer, who shall print 4 copies of the bill on vellum paper or on paper of enduring quality and send the copies to the clerk. 4. On receiving the copies, the clerk shall carefully compare them with the text of the bill as passed, and if the clerk finds the copies to be correct, shall sign on each copy a statement in the form set out in the first schedule, and shall send the copies so authenticated to the President for the assent. 5. Where the bill was passed in accordance with the relevant provisions of Article 108 of the Constitution, the clerk shall, before causing the copies to be presented to the President, submit them to the Speaker, who, if satisfied that the bill was passed in accordance with the Constitution, shall sign on each copy a certificate in the form set out in the first schedule. 6. After the assent, the clerk shall enter on the appropriate number of the Act, unquote. The combined effect of these provisions read together is that after a bill is passed by Parliament, it undergoes a meticulous process designed to ensure its conformity with the nation's legal and constitutional standards before it can become law. Initially, the passed bill is sent to the government printer, who is responsible for printing 4 copies on high-quality, durable paper. Following this, the clerk to Parliament conducts a thorough verification of these printed copies against the original bill and the amendments to ensure the accuracy. Upon successful verification, the clerk authenticates each copy by signing a statement that certifies the correctness. In Article 108 matters, an additional step is introduced. The authenticated copies are presented to the Speaker of Parliament, who must certify that the bill was indeed passed in accordance with Article 108 by signing a certificate on each copy. Honourable members, it's important for me to add this, that this issue about fiscal impact analysis is always done, and the report is always presented to me. And I read through all the reports, and I refer them to a legal person for advice. It's when I am advised that they conform to the Article 108, and I'm convinced that that advice is right, that I recommend them for processing by the necessary authorities. Final and perhaps most critical phase of the process involves the presentation of the bill to the President for assent. Pursuant to Article 1067 of the Constitution, the President has a 7-day period to either assent to the bill, signifying its enactment into law, or refuse to assent, which may involve referring the bill to the Council of State for further advice. Upon the President's assent, the Clerk of Parliament assigns an official act number to the bill, formally making it a law. If the President has concerns about the bill presented, the President refers the bill with the concerns for further consideration of Parliament. When that is done by Parliament and it is represented to the President is by law bound to assent to the bill. That is what is in the Constitution. Ghana, the President has no power of veto. Honourable members, I now make comments on the injunction applications and their effect on the law-making process. Honourable members, this House has been duly served with 2 injunction applications in respect of the bill. The applications titled Richard Sky versus the Parliament of Ghana and the Attorney General, and the second, Dr. Amanda Odoi versus the Speaker of Parliament and the Attorney General. Honourable members, you will recall that on the 19th of July 2023, the Supreme Court considered and dismissed an application for interlocutory injunction that sought to injunct the proceedings of Parliament in respect of the bill. The court in that case, Dr. Amanda Odoi versus the Speaker of Parliament and the Attorney General, J1/13/2023 reasons that the application failed to meet the threshold for the grant of interlocutory injunctions. The Executive Secretary to the President noted in his letter that, and I quote, "It is settled law that during the pendency of an interlocutory injunction application, the status quo ante ought to be preserved and no action be taken that will result in prejudicing the injunctive relief sought and undermining the authority of the court," unquote. Honorable members, an injunction is a judicial order that restrains a person from beginning or continuing an action that threatens or breaches the legal right of another, or that compels a person to carry out a certain act, such as correcting a wrongful state of affairs. In the context of our law, interlocutory injunctions serve as an important tool for maintaining the status quo pending the resolution of a legal dispute, ensuring that the parties involved do not engage in actions that could cause irreparable harm or fundamentally alter the situation before the court as an opportunity to decide the case. I won't want to go into the law on injunctions because these two cases are sub judice. But it's important I say a few things. The act of transmission of a bill to the President merely represents the procedural progression of a bill within the structured framework established by the Constitution. It does not, in and of itself, guarantee the bill's enactment into law, as the President is accorded the authority, as clearly outlined in the Constitution, to either assent to the bill or refuse it under Articles 1067 and 1068. And you can refer to the Council of State for advice or refer it back to the House for reconsideration. Additionally, in the event that a bill is assented to by the President and becomes law, the Constitution provides a mechanism for judicial review. Articles 2, Clause 1 and 130 empower the Supreme Court to scrutinize the constitutionality of an act of Parliament. Should the court find that the law is unconstitutional, it possesses the authority to invalidate the act. Given these considerations, it is evident that the transmission of a bill to the President for assent does not result in irreparable harm that will justify the granting of an injunction, much less the halting of parliamentary process on account of the application of an injunction. Generally, the Supreme Court has upheld the position of the law that the official acts by organs of the state and government departments are presumed to be regularly performed unless there is strong evidence in rebuttal. Arising out of this, it is imperative to note that the courts have been very reluctant in injecting and placing impediments on arms of government and constitutional bodies from performing their constitutionally mandated duties. has always resisted attempts to unfairly and unsuccessfully place a clock on the work of this House through the use of injunction applications. In Welford Kweku versus the Attorney General, the Supreme Court, Dr. Datiba JAC, noted that, and I quote, where the relief sought relates, as here, to a public law matter, particular care must be taken not to halt action, presumptively for the public good, unless there are very cogent reasons to do so, and provided also that any subsequent notification of the impinged act or omission cannot restore the status quo. Given the reliefs that the plaintiff is seeking in the substantive suit in this case, it is clear that if he succeeds in securing the declarations he has claimed, the impinged provisions of the Local Government Act 1993, Act 462, will be declared void, and any actions made in pursuance of that nullified. Accordingly, no irreparable damage will have been caused the plaintiff during the period between the issue of the rent and the date of judgment, unquote. In Dr. Amanda Odoi versus the Speaker of Parliament and the Attorney General, the court refused to grant the injunction application because no prima facie case had been made to restrain the work of Parliament, and further, the applicant was unable to prove irreparable damage should the work of Parliament continue in respect of the bill. This same bill we are talking about. The court's cautious approach in dealing with injunction applications against parliamentary processes further underscores the importance of not hastily impeding the legislative functions of Parliament. The precedents, as I've just set out, show that courts have been slow to grant injunctions that will have to halt the work of Parliament, recognizing the profound implications such actions would have on the legislative autonomy and the balance of powers within the government. The judicial reticence is rooted in the recognition of the fundamental principles underpinning a democratic society, where each branch of government operates within its own sphere of influence, with specific duties and powers that are designed to complement each other, ensuring a robust system of checks and balances. The courts, in exercising their discretion in matters of injunctions against Parliament, demonstrate a careful consideration of these principles, opting to intervene only when absolutely necessary and when the legal threshold for such interventions are unequivocally met. Honourable members, it's time for reflective conclusion. Several critical points emerge that underscore the importance of adhering to constitutional and legal frameworks within our democratic governance. Firstly, the President's refusal to accept the transmission of the bill is, by all accounts, not supported by the constitutional and statutory provisions that guide our legislative process. The Constitution clearly delineates the steps to be followed once a bill has been passed by Parliament, mandating the transmission of the bill to the President for assent or rejection. Therefore, the refusal to even accept the bill for consideration falls outside the legal bounds established by our constitutional framework. It is incumbent upon the President to accept the bill and take the necessary action within the prescribed constitutional limits, whether that action is assent, refusal, or referral to the Council of State for advice or Parliament for reconsideration. It is instructive to note that the Executive has in the past proceeded with its actions, although there has been pending before the court injunction applications against the state. Secondly, there must be a steadfast rejection of any attempts to unduly fetter or hinder the work of Parliament. The Parliament of Ghana operates as a crucial part of our democracy, embodying the will and voice of the people. Parliament embodies the sovereign will and power of the people. Parliament embodies the might and majesty of the people. And as I keep on saying, the power of the people is stronger than the people in power. Any efforts to obstruct its work, Parliament's work, disrespects this fundamental institution and threatens the principles of governance by consent and representation. Thirdly, it is imperative to remain vigilant against certain dangerous precedents that could potentially undermine the foundation of our democracy. The rejection of a bill's transmission without constitutional basis introduces a precarious deviation from established democratic practices and norms. Such actions, if left unchallenged, may embolden future attempts to circumvent the legislative process, thereby weakening the integrity and efficacy of our democratic institutions. Lastly, in alignment with our constitutional mandates and the principles of good governance, it is essential for the President to adhere to the lawful course of action by accepting the transmission of the bill. Upon receipt, the President has the constitutionally provided options as to what to do. I don't want to repeat it here. As we move forward, it is the collective responsibility of all branches of government, and indeed all citizens, to uphold the Constitution and ensure that our democratic processes are not only preserved but strengthened. The current impasse presents an opportunity for reflection and reaffirmation of our commitment to the principle of democracy, rule of law, and the unequivocal respect for the legislative process that forms the bedrock of our nation's governance. Honorable members, the Parliament of Ghana will comply with the existing legal frameworks and reject the attempts by the Executive Secretary of the President through his contemptuous letter to instruct the clerk to Parliament, an officer of Parliament whose position is recognizably under the Constitution, we shall not cease and desist. Be that as it may, honorable members, I also bring to your attention the receipt of a process from the courts titled Robson. Honorable member, I'm watching you. And I hear what you say. Be that as it may, honorable members, I also bring to your attention the receipt of a process from the courts titled Robson Nelson Eche K. Dafiamapo versus the Speaker of Parliament and the Attorney General, suit number J1/12/2024, which process was served on the 19th, that is yesterday, March 2024, and an injunction motion on notice seeking to restrain the Speaker from proceeding with the vetting and approval of the names of the persons submitted by His Excellency the President until the provisions of the Constitution are satisfied. Honorable members, in the light of this process, the House is unable to continue to consider the nominations of His Excellency the President, to use the language of the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, quote, in the spirit of upholding the rule of law, unquote, until after the determination of the application for interlocutory injunction by the Supreme Court. Honorable members, this is the precedent that is being set by His Excellency the President for all Ghanaians to follow.
Yadamase na ensamno aye piso papa de de kan and say yeguso aye kono ano na yenya ne tie say Speaker of Parliament or therefore ene kwantama ekasa no wodi tudwa say speaker otu kwan waba na obekasa e de afa nana asante bedi atuo lete tantan no a wo twerɛ kɔma Parliament no eno no na speaker etena se no o say omo hyase so omo de saa emra wei ede eba no on 3 occasions ana amanfo hyase say won be stop omo sade be ya bema bedi bema trumu no oba ada saa mra no ebetumi akoso ewo Ghana ha etiye bra twamu ama wo mani mu adwo no enkrofo no say emyemra na emonyanya na obi anya de opɛ na the same Amanda Odoi kuraya no wade court ama court no ebogu yese ade a enya emra yentumi interpreti esa se Supreme Court no ye hosi ekyerɛkyerɛ mram ye nkyerɛkyerɛ bail mu enu nti so bi the bill at the bar ye kwaka ne sɛn emra ne yekyerɛm ade ne nyanya emra eti agitumu a enya yie wase saa time no 3 occasions ye we eka ho ena omode ebaye wasan ekyerɛ mu biem ade ko biem sɛ womampani na nadodan kwa akufuado and communicated to Parliament. Say one sign, one kai. Nana Santi Bediatio is only the executive secretary to the president. President and communicate here. And was saying KBM say, Woman Pania Kufuado is being banned by Ghana Constitution. When you veto power to say some way, now what's a way, and a yeho a day emame. And also, what can wasem? And what can say, I was a house, no, I am Rasaba Jafoni Nano, a kabum, a yabako, said Yabaya obi and to me, and no one I won't, now when you want to me, and for free one some. Now we'll go to a wakasano ano, and a okasa sentia be dear to your contemptuous letter no awade abano, and yadia one beje atum, a hona gay ni bako, yes, we empio say, see you, or no. Aya na dwen say o did this speaker tam e woni tim and a speaker hu no and was say honorable member me hu na ba bia wote no de awka no wudi matam amete wuturu mu no a ekeka mu a mu pe bibi atiti no wudi matam amete enti mehwew na speaker asama woka ye ade etwa to Wakabakubiem was saying the power of the people is stronger than the people in power. To me, ne kura ye no, a more G, a wadi wom, a time or more power no. Now, someone, wakacha to say, Honorable Roxanne Nelson, Dafia Mekbo, and so at the Supreme Court to say, Wamuana another down kwa kufuadu ayi wamusomo MA ministers no. Ema yanyi wamuntum kopim sai. Trumu kesi na wakoto no yebewie. Entu anu so akwakwadi interlocutory injunction bi e de aba beto so. Enti speaker sama what can say by this order wamampani akufuado ne nkrofo a wayi wamse ministers so amumra meye adwuma no. Parliament entering into us and you are muntum. Kopem say, trumu case no, ye be our parliament. Na ye and ye be no court. Na ye and parliament ebetrasie. Na yaje e de atum. Enti and serve more rights. And our dinner no ebebesia. Yen so ye ediabano. Ye tria hutew niaba. Yaba, the akano. Yet be so train ye base ya. Baba media no so highway no so no yahwe no. Say ono na sebe na ne trumu ekeka no ewo pa. Na emfa na emfa ma amuzu. Dr. Amuzu wadi Amuzu K. Yafunu yade bia bi etu ase. Amuzu Galibites. Ebo moja media frisani ye oni peduen mu. Amuzu P. General body pains. Ena Amuzu Heba. Malaria fever. Amuzu nreba bi eton robi ana ubenya bi frɛ 0246 35 1107 0246 35 1107.
George Health Shop ayetema Community 5 me pacho modern so bedo na ndrobia openo ubenya bi ato edrobia heba na Dr. Chiroma onya bi nyina udu Little George Health Shopper ubenya bi ato awotema Community 5 oni PV obin runabout and afi price bi ntem ha na oshobetimi afre no awo 0243140213 so wo no set ye bia no wonya bi ato ewo ho
Power Specialist Heba Hospital Mami Beatrice akoso ye ya wose kompo fabra no to ase fibroid fabra and hepatitis A B C D ne nkrabata ni nyina no otu ase wo branches bebre wo Ghana hatakra de Kumase ene nkran ha friend was 0244 544422 0244 544422
Yan fasidani bi ama aye Ruta natural product mi pacho modern so benye bi ebi aye Ruta mixture ebe kwetia malaria saso ana Ruta Titanic eno so typhoid fever edro ana fe aye Ruta live and we bwana say nipadua no je say aye nime bia fat bia je say ada de nipadua nim no anane no ama nipadua na ade no modern say obepe bi na person fresh so na bisa won sampe bi ton a fresh 0244 503443 na sobenya biato Ghana biom ton dru bia e wo man Ghana mu
X natural mineral water simply natural there is several wedding engagement birthday party any program bia ase wunya bia eboa makeup shops ni nyina mu bowura ho na obenya bi number is 0596 273546 0596 273546
3P garlic mixture and so a dress a garlic crojen and amode aye to say boa and majesty bia honam aye ye be boost immune system na ma na efe yare bia se ense ni paduanim no eyi ni nyina nso afio na so timi adon ho aye adwumade obenya bia to obi omton aye nduro bia Ghana fa na nyina na person offer telephone number on number etwen komode 0248 928 824 na se nia ope bia no ubusa dudu bia so mebebro na timi aboa o
Car 360 toothpaste unya bia ebo papa pantibrebe na yusu na nije emrakel akono kama nti uyusu bia ebebo wo wo enro no kama pa obetumi afre 0246 864798 0246 864798 pose papa ye ditwese
Saso and Spanish Jinko capsules. Me pacho ewo hodi se no so nya bia beboa na se eye ni padua no se bia onyini ebrani ade ni nyina befuo ama saso enom de Spanish garlic mixture ene ne capsules so abebeboa na se bia obi a onan eta ehono onan ata eswaso ne ade no so no onya binuma ni nyina no ebeboa saso ne bia kwa fichire ubu nsa na ate ohaw bebre na ewo muso a modern so benum na timi aboa 0266 1141 11 na se drono bebi omton dru bia Ghana obenye bi so ato
Solar Cancer Clinic ebo diabetes ne yade nka we bia no fabra woda na dwo ntumi na sexual weakness ene wo kidney ene wo brebo ye ho aka nyina no fabra na wonhwe ema wo nanuma enkoso kokomlemle oye Royal Castle Road obe Harvest High School no number no 0553 932631 0553 932631
Saso ana class house electronics ebra na beji enyoma papa ko yuzu ofie na mboa na se bia blender na ahwe anampo TV na ape obenya ni nyina bi ne bo so ewo fam nema be yuzu o kitchen ni nyina bi ewo ho o branches bebre bi ewo sprinter saso ana dabraka kaso Kumasi ho ni nyina so se ne bo no so ewo fam frɛ 0598 902908 na se ni ape bia so no onye bia to ewo ho
Medimosis the Medimosis garlic bitters and Medimosis garlic capsules the aba Medimosis garlic capsules no and a egu ho no mo amhwe TV no so no and Facebook no mu hu na egu ase no wobetumi afre no salon cinnamon wunya bi aboa ni paduan papa bi nanom na ebeboa pa medimosis nro ba bi etonro bia no atiate se ho fre 0244 068447 0244 068447.
Let's talk educational consult. Aya bia chese no so no yetete enkwada oba no wanya bosumi nsia chese akopem enfie nsia de ne ko mbekire na de kama e diama we obi so wati school na pese o montete aya wa kirefo ni yema. Let's talk educational consult ebe ni na kama e diama nti bo modern ko na bia public speaking sanso na technology and art na fe programs be na no omo aye ho omo aye teshi nungwa Estate Mango Street eho na omo frɛ 0249 069 821 na oni omo nkasa na akwadra no jese wo makwan nti biribia na akwadra no eco school na etimi abo school fees no bono so no wo fom boko
Kasiebo nasi aboafo edoso bebre ya do bia PS yesremo se ne yentumi amfa entertainment ene de ka ho nyina no amfa amba na monfante speaker de no so na eho ehia iti aboafo ndo so bebre na omoboa ya Kasiebo ya de bremo bidin ade oheneba boama benie okumangra di wanf mene
akuya krantema
ya da munyina ase